Hello, fellow diecasters, and welcome to another insane episode of Diecast Insanity. Hope you guys are having a great week. I hope everything's going well with you guys. Today we're gonna be looking at the 2001 first edition. So we got another first editions episode for you, and we're starting to get into those years of Hot Wheels where the first edition count's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're bringing in a lot of funky cars. So I don't have a lot of 2001 first editions. There's some I would like to pick up that I didn't pick up at the time that I'd like to kind of go back and get. Some of them are not very expensive and all that. But there was 36 cars that year. I have 13 of them here that are first editions. Some of the first editions that are listed in here I do have, but I have editions from down the road that weren't first editions. So we're going to take a look at what I got. I have 3 in the package. The rest are out of the package. One happens to be Elijah's car, for one that I don't have. And then we'll take a look at them, and we'll just go over them, and we'll show you the ones. I'll talk about the ones I don't have and the ones that I don't have that I would like to have. So let me get set up, and we'll start taking a look. All right. So we're going to be using Wiki once again, and it's a very good source for you guys if you want to know what cars are from what years, what the first edition of a particular casting looked like, and all that kind of stuff. So the first car on the list is a race car. A very cool car. I wish they would come out with the next generation of this car, because it was even cooler than this one. But this is the Cadillac LMP race car. Very cool. First edition in silver, black interior, with the lace wheels. Very cool car. As you guys know, I'm huge on race cars, so when this one came out, I definitely had to pick this one up. Very, very sweet. Whoa, as it drives off the turntable. Really, really nice car. So, one of my favorites. Don't see a lot of this car. I think it's been kind of relegated to 5-packs and I think mystery models mostly. Next up would be the Surfin' School Bus, which I do not have. That was one that I didn't really like at that particular time. One that I wish I had is a LaTrucca. I do not have a LaTrucca, not the first edition. Elijah has one, but it's not the first edition. He got it out of a 5-pack. But I'm probably going to be looking into picking that one up. And then the next one on the list is a street rod called So Fast. This is a really, really cool street rod, probably based off a 34 Ford Coupe. With the engine in the back, with the nose like a salt flat race car. This has a little opening top that opens up to reveal the interior. Very cool. Something you don't see a lot these days. This is a metal base car, metal body, metal base, whereas the first one was a metal body, plastic base car. And then I also have one of these in the package as well, that I picked up at a yard sale. As you can see, it's on a pretty decent car, except for this corner down here. But, and this one's got some little paint flaws. If you can actually see in the white, you can see some of the red from the base there. And on the nose, on the bottom of the nose, you can see a little bit of color there. So something happened in packaging and paint and everything with this particular one. But I have another one of these in the package, but very, very cool car. Very sweet. Love this street rod. One of my favorite street rods. Next up was Super Tune, which was a pickup truck. Kind of a funky looking, really funky looking car. Next up is another street rod. Very, very cool one called the Hooligan. Very cool, really neat truck. This is a recent addition to my collection. I did not get this new when it first came out, but I picked this up about a year ago probably, I think. I can't quite remember where I picked this up from. It might have been a yard sale, and it was still in the package, so very nice truck. I think my wife found this one for me, but this is the first edition, and it's matte black with the flames on the side and red engine with red interior and grille. Very cool. Another cool, neat street rod to have. Next up was Crazy Eights, which is a really funky looking car. Then there's the MST Suzuka, which is another funky looking sports car, not based on a real car. Then next up we've got another one of the race cars. Very cool car. I love this car. This is the Panos LMP Roadster S. Very, very cool car. This is a metal body, plastic base with a metal wing. Very, very cool car. Don't see this one a lot anymore either. So you can see the Le Mans on the side of the car there. The Panos symbol, the little sponsor there. This kind of looks like the original race car when it first came out. There's one in the Hot Wheels Legends series that is really, really cool that has real riders and everything on it and has an American flag paint scheme on it. Very cool car. I love this Panos. I loved this car when it came out in IMSA. Very, very cool. Front engine LMP car. Very fast. Very cool car. Very, very sweet. And then next up we have our first of the packaged cars, and this is Elijah's. This is the Shredster. Really funky looking car. This car will reappear again in another form in 2004. So it's going to be interesting. We'll take a look at that when we get around to the 2004 first editions. But another one of Hot Wheels' funky designs. Not really quite sure about that one. That's probably why I never picked that one up. Next up is probably not the best of Hot Wheels' Vipers, but still very, very cool. This is the Dodge Viper RTS S-R. Really, really cool. One of my 6 Vipers that I have from different varying years. If you look, the back of this car just looks a little funky with the huge rear tire and the big rear end on the car. It just makes it look a little weird. The proportions are a little off on this car, but it's not too bad. But still, very, very cool to have this Viper in the Viper collection. Next up is a fantasy casting, one that I picked up that I kind of liked. I usually don't pick up fantasy castings, but this one kind of stuck with me because it kind of reminds me a lot of the Diora, but very, very cool. This one is called the Maelstrom. This is the first edition. I do not think this one is in production anymore, to tell you the truth. It says 2001 to present, so the last time it was seen was 2017 in the Easter set that Hot Wheels put out. So that was the last time we saw that. But this is the first edition in this beautiful blue with the little flames on the fender there. But that one is really, really cool. Next up is one that I don't have, and I don't know why I don't have this car, the Lotus M250, which I don't have. I thought I did, but I don't, so that's one I'm going to possibly start looking into to pick up. Another one I don't have that I don't know why I don't have it is the 71 Plymouth GTX. I do not have that one, which I'm going to have to figure out how to pick that one up. Another one I don't have is the Honda Civic Si. I don't have that one. Which, at the time, I wasn't really into. I was into JDM, but it was more Datsuns than it was Hondas. Evil Twin, which is kind of a cool casting, but I do not have that one. Then we have the Hypermite. Another really funky car. The Outsider, which is pretty cool. It's a motorcycle with sidecar. One that I probably will eventually end up picking up. The Monoposto, which I do have an edition of this, I just don't have the first edition. Then we have the Velarter Roadster, which I do have a couple of versions that I have for parts cars, because they have a neat engine in them that I might steal out of something. The Fright Bike, which is another one I don't have, which is a really weird looking thing. Jet Threat 3.0, which is another one I don't have. Montezuma, which is rare that I do not have that car. That's another one that I'm going to have to look into picking up. Also, the Toyota Celica. I do not have that one. And then next up is one that you guys just saw recently that I just picked up at the racetrack a couple weekends ago. The Ford Focus from 2001 and this really cool Meguiar's paint job. When I get some more Planos, I'm going to open this one up and put it in with the Fords. But really cool. I really didn't like this car until I saw it in the first edition. I really dig this paint scheme and the Meguiar's, so I ended up picking it up. So very cool there. So that one's really, really neat. Next up is Mega Duty, which is a truck that I don't have. Another one that I'm probably going to have to pick up. I have 2 editions of it. I have the second edition and a mystery model edition of the Riley Scott Mark III. It's another race car, another LMP car like this one here, like the Cadillac. I have the second edition, but I do not have the first edition. Next up is XSIVE, which is a really funky, futuristic-looking fire truck thing, which is not my cup of tea. Next up is a really, really cool car. There's only 8 different versions of this car. This is the first edition of the old number 3. Really old-time race car. Really reminds you of the Mormon Wasp from the very first Indy 500. But pretty cool. I love this thing. It's really, really neat. Really a cool addition to the collection, especially if you're a race fan and if you're into racing history. It's a really cool car to have. But very sweet there. And then another one that is really cool to have, and there's several different versions of this car through its history, and I believe there is even a Hall of Fame version of this car. There's also a different numbered version of this car. I have seen this car with 36 on it, which is actually the second edition of this car that came out the year after. But this is the Ferrari 156. Very cool, very historic F1 Ferrari. This is the car that Phil Hill, the first American to ever win the Formula One world title, won it in a car that looked just like this. So very cool. This is the first edition. The next edition from the next year is exactly the same, except it has the number 36 on it. And then there's the Hall of Fame version, which has real riders. And then there's a couple of 5-pack versions. There's only 8. There's only 8 different versions of this car. And I also happen to have a second one of these in the package as well. So, very cool. Very neat Ferrari. Very historic Ferrari, especially in American terms, with a American winning the world title in that car. Next up is another historic race car, the Cunningham C4R. Very cool. Briggs Cunningham is the designer and builder of this car. If I remember right, they did take this car to Le Mans. It didn't fare too well, but still very cool historic car to have, especially if you're into historic race cars. Very cool. I do have another version of this car as well, but this is the first edition in the white with the blue racing stripes, which happens to be the American racing colors. And then next up is a really funky car. I didn't come on this when it was new. This is a recent addition to the collection. Another still in the package car, but this is the 57 Roadster. Very cool. Looks like a 57 Chevy. all narrowed up with no roof. Very, very funky looking car, but I think it's actually cool looking. This is another yard sale find, I believe, that I picked up at a yard sale. And then when we get some more Planos, this will eventually be open. This is also a metal base, metal body car. Fairly heavy. Those little, tiny front wheels. Very cool car. Next up is the Mote scooter, which is kind of like a little scooter thing, which is kind of not very cool. Next up is the Ford Thunderbolt. Now, this is a car that I picked up in a bag of cars from Goodwill. It's not in very good shape. It's a car that I've got in my box for customizing, for using it for a custom. But this is the very first edition of the Ford Thunderbolt, which is kind of a cool car. It's in an okay shape. It needs new wheels. The front wheels are all screwed up on it. But still a kind of a neat car. I'm going to have to look and get one of these brand off of eBay in the package, because I need to add this car to my collection for other than this beat up version. But still, really, really cool car. And then the next two is the Morris Wagon, which I do have, but I don't believe I have the first edition. And then next up, last but not least, is Fandango, which is the Durango-looking SUV truck. So that's the 2001 first editions. Like I said, I don't have a lot. We're getting into that time frame of Hot Wheels where there's some real funky stuff going on. So like I said, that we're starting to get into those years of Hot Wheels where they started doing some real funky stuff, those early and mid 2000s. There was 36 new models this year. In 2002, there's 42 new models, and it just kept going up. It just kept going up from there. So it's just crazy. Dang it! I hate ads. Okay, so it'll just get some. The ones you'll see in the mid 2000s of my first edition collections are kind of small. Like I said, I like the real cars, the licensed models. I do have a few of the fantasy castings here and there that I liked, but so they're going to get kind of small until about 2005, 2006, and then they'll start going back up again. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea of what came out in what years and all that kind of stuff. Go back and check out the 2000 first edition video, the 1999 first edition video, the 1998 first edition video. Go check those out. I think I got all the way back to 97. So go check those out. Check that playlist out. And very, very cool. You can see what year the cars, the first editions, and all that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys find what you're looking for. And remember, leave some on the page for the other collectors in your area, because they'd like to find these cars too. And just have a great week. I'm out. We'll be back next week with a bi-weekly feature car. And just keep having fun. And I'm out. Bye.